Adolf Hitler's disappearance in May 1945 will trigger an international manhunt and spark fears that he could return to wreak devastation once again. But at the heart of the mystery is the question of how the world's most wanted man could pull off an escape. When could Hitler have slipped away unnoticed? On April 20th, 1945, 12 days before Berlin falls, witnesses see him there. It is his 56th birthday. In the garden above his bunker, he greets boys who have been bravely battling the Red Army. These last images of a madman on the verge of his downfall also show that he is still leaving his destructive mark on the world. These youngsters are not volunteers. In a final decree, the Nazis have summoned every hand to Berlin's defense. But with those of fighting age already at the front or dead, the order condemns thousands of old men and boys to certain death. In another merciless decision, Hitler has refused to evacuate the city's women and children.
Hitler never considered anything that he didn't want to consider. The possibility of actually looking after the civilian population had never occurred to him whatsoever.
Millions seek refuge beneath the city streets. An explorer of underground Berlin, Dietmar Arnold, has investigated how the helpless survived.
There were 60 to 80 people in this room, mainly women with children and old people.
Five dozen people packed into a room meant for 20, with no food, no electricity, and no running water.
The mothers had to go out to the pumps on the street to get water. Very often, they never came back.
And where is Hitler while chaos consumes Berlin? He is holed up in his personal bunker, a cramped warren of heavily reinforced concrete more than 30 feet underground, in the heart of the German capital. By April 1945, Hitler has been living here for months, while his public appearances have grown more and more rare. As the Russians close in, he already has the one thing he most needs to pull off an escape: invisibility. If Hitler had the opportunity to escape, he would also need a way to get past the Red Army. But that too is not a problem. While his final orders condemn millions to death, he and his men have tanks, airplanes, and even U-boats at their disposal. And many won't hesitate to use them.
Almost up to the last moments, it was theoretically possible for him to leave the city.
After they greet Hitler in Berlin on his birthday, top Nazis, Hermann Goering, head of the Air Force, Heinrich Himmler, chief of the SS, and Albert Speer, Hitler's favorite minister, flee the city as fast as they can. In all, 2,000 Nazis abandon Berlin and its civilian population. Adolf Hitler could easily join the exodus.
Nazi party leaders seized any car they could, or any aeroplane or train, to try to escape. They all had good military reasons, they claimed, for getting out of Berlin, but basically they were just escaping.
The men and boys Hitler has ordered to fight to the death do their job so well they keep routes open for the fleeing leaders. The Russians do not seal off main roads heading south and west until April 24th. They do not seize the last of the city's airports until the 27th, a week after Hitler is last seen in public. And Hitler has one other means of escape. On his orders, workers turn a central Berlin boulevard into an airstrip. On April 29th, just 3 days before the city falls, Soviet troops are shocked to see a small two-seater appear. The plane taxis within firing range of dozens of enemy soldiers. And they do nothing to stop it.
Suddenly, this aircraft appeared and took off in front of their eyes, and because they were so astonished, they didn't even open fire until it was too late.
Later, those men would wonder if they had let Adolf Hitler get away. Still, in April 1945, the century's most notorious criminal would not easily find refuge. Where would Adolf Hitler go? Certainly not to the east. In their 3-year invasion of Russia, German soldiers sacked and slaughtered at will. Of the 25 million killed, most were civilians. Fearful of Soviet retribution, thousands of Germans risked their lives to reach the American front lines.
The war in Eastern Europe was a race war designed to enslave or exterminate. If this man was going to flee, he would go to the West.
Hitler sightings soon surface all over Western Europe. One Nazi pilot tells of spiriting his leader to Denmark. Other reports claim Hitler is disguised as a shepherd in the Alps, or as a dealer in a posh French casino. One of the most disturbing stories comes from Sweden. It says Hitler and his bride, Eva Braun, had 2 children and fled to be with them. The report revives fears of Hitler's spawn, training to lead a Nazi revival. For many, the story is chilling proof that Hitler's urge to destroy will live forever, even if in some other form.
He was viewed in the West as being something beyond human, something sheer evil. Was it really possible for him to be dead?
Then, in July 1945, the question of Hitler's whereabouts becomes more than rumor. It balloons into a propaganda weapon. When the war's victors meet outside Berlin, Joseph Stalin insists that Hitler is still alive. He suggests the German leader fled to Japan by U-boat, or perhaps to Spain, where Europe's last fascist, Francisco Franco, still rules. The accusations are an ominous sign that Stalin will use Hitler's disappearance to rattle his enemies.
Stalin, in his usual rather sphinx-like way, wanted to keep everybody guessing, to be able to make everybody uncertain, both in his own entourage and, of course, on the world stage. Appealed to his vanity and his very perverse sense of humor.
Then, an intriguing clue surfaces that suggests Stalin may be onto something. A German U-boat pulls into a foreign port, not in Japan or Spain, but in the South American nation of Argentina.
Argentina had been the last Latin American country to get into the war. It was a place with an enormously large German immigrant community.
Argentina's Juan Perón is an open admirer of Hitler's regime. And the country is already home to many powerful Nazis. In the coming years, many more